Hey, how's it going? We are taking a look at next opportunity. I thought it might be worth covering. We'll go slightly off the perhaps I have covered some of the opportunities within Europe and or what would it be like to operate or set up a organization. Perhaps they are interested in news, right? I thought it would be more like an information sharing platform and what would be required and some of the funding and how some of the funding might be potentially be sourced where Europe would offer 80% and you would need to source another 20, right? From there, I have taken a look at UK, right? If we would go and take a look at a similar model, currently UK is sourcing 3.8 or so billion coming from a license fee. So this is where UK is sourcing that amount of money from, and how they're looking to operate their own channel. I don't know entirely what budget they're working with. If it's 20% that they're sourcing, that 20% would add up to BBC operating with 19 billion. So I don't know what to do with 19 billion. I don't know. I don't know whether perhaps good things, right? So we're taking a look at announcement made last week on Wednesday or Thursday. That's BBC. If you would like to take a look at that video, and within this video, we're gonna be taking a look at research and innovative organizations infrastructure fund. So, which I personally believe that should be more of the interest, but I thought some of those opportunities and everything was happening not to be overlooked, right? But within this video, let's take a look at some of that infrastructure and where you could potentially source finance. This opportunity is live right now, and it's going to be live until the end of this month, mid years, right? So it's live currently. So I thought it might be worth covering and taking a look at this opportunity. That would be a 25 million grant will fund small to medium sized research infrastructure. That would be perhaps equipment and or facilities for UK's research and innovative organizations RRIOs for the FY that would be for a period. ROIs are key delivery partners in research and innovative. I don't know if that's the kind of language is very confusing, but what I'll try to translate for people. This is how some of the people communicate, and because that's how potentially the contract itself will be structured, right? Providing national capabilities such as measurements, weather, nuclear energy, agriculture, science, and others. So that would be some of those sectors that they would be looking to cover within this, but not necessarily limited to those that I have just mentioned. This grant forms part of the government's response to the review of research. Okay. I don't know that project. Developed an innovative RDI organizations landscape, and it's one of many ambition actions the government is in tackling to evolve the landscape of organizations performing RDIs in the UK to be more diverse, resilient, and investable. Okay. Well, so there, I definitely agree with some of the statements made here. This scheme is a new funding round of the competition, okay, for that period of time. The selfie is something a lot of business should focus on this kind of area and perhaps seeking for, or if depending on the issue or problem that you would be looking to tackle, right? So some of that finance might be very welcomed. Let's try to delve a little bit deeper and trying to understand some of those opportunities. Let's start with the summary. The grant will fund a discrete element of equipment. Items that with the scope of being funded in the grant include but are not limited to high performance compute, some of that hardware, high end laboratory equipment, okay, equipment to help with digestion of collections. Okay. Perhaps I'm not entirely sure what they mean by that. Perhaps the way how information can be processed, perhaps digestion. Okay. Small to medium sized essential facility upgrades. So since there's a lot of changes in the world, perhaps there's a new equipment available. Evidence must be shown that the item can be ordered by a particular time of date, as well as the item is being funded must not be used for economic activities beyond 20% of its use. Items that are outside of the scope of being funded in the grant include the in-kind contributor staff, and they're currently being funded by another grant. The items starting costs, the maintenance. I'll attach a screenshot just in case you would like to read it or perhaps reach out to a team and or try to understand this process a little bit better. Eligibility to be eligible for RIOIF, applicants must be meet the following criteria of the date of the application. The organizations must be research and innovative, not-for-profit organizations. The Royal Societies list provide a good reference based on the Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The organization is not eligible for or is already received a non-open call for UK RIs world-class labs funding. Organizations will have no more than 20% of its activities appropriated economic activities. So that would be 1, 2, 3 areas. And the last one, the organization is not a business premises, higher education premises, or other from of non-research and non-innovative premises. This criteria applies to organizations that are applying for receive payment. And there are any consortia being formed. Each organization in the consortium must also satisfy eligibility criteria if they were to apply themselves. So, but overall, so if you have, there might be a webinar as well as questions and answers session if you are interested in some of those opportunities there. Perhaps I can take a look at it quickly. What will be the process of applying for that? That would be potentially before you do anything, might be worth taking a look at the webinar where they would present all information and what they are looking to achieve with this opportunity. That would be perhaps that happened already, but you might be able to take a look or ask for recording of that. That happened last week, 6th of December, as well as they have option to reach out to them and or perhaps ask particular questions if you have any. So that would be process of how you can apply for this. I thought it might be worth taking a look at some of those objectives, but I'm not entirely sure if this that's the case that this funding was set up for a very particular reason, right? And what would be some of the reasoning and not necessarily would be covered with some information. I will still share it for those of you who like to read it, but I'm not entirely sure. I think there's 10 projects that they're looking to support, and each project would be 2.5 million is something that those projects would be able to receive, as well as I'm not entirely sure if that would be 100% of funding. Would that be 80%, for example? That kind of information is very important. I'm not entirely sure if they would not be considering sharing that kind of information, if that's important, why they would not share it. Other than now I need to reach out to them, or people up there need to reach out to them, where people need to take a look at some of that important information, right? Otherwise, that might be a waste of everyone's time, right? But still, that's important investment to make, and they're looking to rationalize that, right? Yourself, if you're interested in learning more, I have published a book, Project Fitflow. Within this book, I'm sharing a lot of information with the people who are interested in learning more. In particular, I'm focusing a lot on body hardware that we all have. Within this book, you could find some of those key areas that would be nutrition, enough time to recover, as well as training and how that training should look like. I could briefly touch on that. The process itself would be looking where you begin, start very slowly, and progression from very someone haven't ever stepped in the gym, or perhaps, or they haven't placed any stress on their body. From there, progressing into perhaps making your living from this kind of area. Looking to cover, and I'm sharing a lot of different interesting stories within the book that I think a lot of people would find fascinating. You can find the QR code in the Economy Company's website below. Myself, I can understand how important some of those funding opportunities are. In particular, when we're taking a look at research and development work. And currently in UK, I'm looking to reach out to a number of those institutions and collaborate and work together when it comes to working on new projects and developing some new products and services and how we can do that. and there isn't that many institutions. I wish there was more, and perhaps there would be some opportunities out there when it comes to receiving funding and starting those organizations, or perhaps collaborating with others. So if someone's perhaps out there interested in starting their own research and development institution, and what would that look like? Myself, as a business perspective, I'm looking to develop products and services, and what that will look like. What would be a way of how collaborating and working together. That's why I'm interested in collaborating and working together and perhaps solving a lot of problems. And currently, that would be an opportunity of sourcing finance. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next one.